What's up, Blue Roof Nation? It's your boy Jonathan, and welcome back to John's Corner. I'm your host, Jonathan. Hi, how y'all doing? I know y'all miss me. Hi. Now, today's gonna be a short episode. I don't really have a lot of news stuff, but I just want to talk about the shows that came out last night. Of course, you know, The Flash came out, and Black Lightning. Both shows amazing. Apparently, The Flash and Arrow's ratings dropped this season, like for their premieres, which is like disappointing because they're good, like they're holding strong. I hope I want CW to double down on the DC shows. I don't want them to pull back. You know, the premise of getting a Batwoman's TV series is awesome. Plus, we're losing Gotham this year. I love Gifted. I haven't had a chance to watch last night's episode yet. But the whole Fox selling the Disney thing, I don't know how much longer Gifted and Legion are gonna last with Disney taking everything back, you know. So I hope Gifted. I haven't had a chance to get into Legion yet, but I love Gifted. Gifted is such an amazing show. But I hope that it doesn't feel the wrath of the mouse. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, The Flash last night, it was kind of Team Flash's introduction into the big bad for the season. And Black Lightning, it's cool. It was the guy who they introduced this kid who he was introduced in the last episode, who came back from the dead. And when he asks you a question and he looks at you, you're compelled to tell the truth without even meaning to. Some interesting hijinks. Really good episode. But yeah, the shows I really want to talk to. Well, I'll end with the show I really want to talk to. But first, Nathan Fillion's new show came out, The Rookie. I watched it. He has that same charm that he's had on everything, man. Nathan Fillion is one of the most charming people you'll ever meet, and The Rookie, it really carries that, delivers that. It takes with cop shows, I only like them if there's a way in. I think the most traditional cop show I've ever actually liked was Nash Bridges. But like, I like detective shows with premises, like Psych Monk, you know, whodunit shows, but not really cop shows. The only cop shows I really like is The Shield and Castle. So The Rookie, I was like, I gave it a chance because I love Castle and because it's Nathan Fillion, obviously from Castle. So I was like, all right. So I gave it a roll and I liked it. It was a good first episode. I don't think it's as funny as Castle, but it definitely has a good foundation. But the real thing I want to talk about is the Conners. Now, I don't know how much I've talked about it on this show or on the podcast or whatever, but I'm a huge Roseanne fan. I grew up on that show. I always joked that like Dan Connor's the father I never had. Like if I had a dad, I'd want it to be Dan Connor. So Roseanne, that show has always had a special place in my heart. And I even like season 9. I know it's the season everyone shits on. I liked it, except for the last 10 minutes. That last, you know, whenever, oh, it's all bug, and I hate that. That part drives me. I skip it every time I watch it because that part, I hate it so much. It's like the ending of How I Met Your Mother. It's irksome. But, yeah, so I watched The Conners. So, Roseanne's always held a special place in my heart. When they brought it back, I was apprehensive, like, damn, can they recapture that magic, and how are they going to play out the last season? And they did it perfectly. I mean, they had a little throwaway, like, oh, here's that book you wrote. So I was like, oh, so the last season was the book. It's like, it's cool. I liked it. I thought that was clever. And they kept Becky with Mark. They kept Darlene with David. You know, they kept all the stuff that wasn't retconned in that last scene, including Dan being alive. So I appreciated that. They even referenced, like, oh, you killed me off in this. I just thought it was so clever. And last season really did recapture that magic of Roseanne, of the old show. And then, you know, Roseanne, she sent that tweet out, which was fucked up, and there did need to be repercussions for what she said. And then they canceled the show, and they fired her, and it's like, oh shit. Um, so it's like, well, damn. So what's gonna happen? You know, I mean, it was killer ratings. Are they really gonna just throw that away? And then they announced that it was coming back as the Connors without her, and I didn't know how I felt about that. Partly because Roseanne is the centerpiece of the show. You watch the show, it centers on her a great deal. But she was never my favorite character. My favorite characters were always Dan and Darlene and David. And I'm really hoping that in future seasons David becomes a more central part, since Big Bang Theory is ending. I mean, what else is he going to do? But I was like, well, as long as Dan and Darlene are big parts, and they're like, well, the show's going to focus on Darlene. It's like, all right, I'm good with that. Darlene's always been my favorite character. And so watching it last night, it still has the same charm, but it is missing something. And you watch it and you realize, like, it's still good. It's still funny. It's still all the parts superficially that make Roseanne work are still there. And when you're watching it, it's not so much that you miss Roseanne, but there's definitely something missing. And it's almost, while you're watching it, you don't really notice what's missing, if that makes sense. Because, you know, you have Darlene, you have Dan, you have Jackie, you have Becky, you even have DJ, and it's just like, well, all the parts are there. And all those characters are the same. Those characters aren't missing a beat. They're the same now as they were on Roseanne. There's no difference. What is missing? And you realize that Roseanne, even though it's a sitcom, it was a character study. It was very much about Roseanne and her relationships with all these people. And you realize, like, yeah, Darlene and Dan have a relationship, but it's not as strong as Darlene's relationship with Roseanne. Yeah, Becky and Darlene, you know, they have that sibling rivalry. And you can argue that Becky was closer to Darlene than she was to Roseanne. And that's fine. And actually, those scenes don't seem hurt by what happened. Those scenes seem just as strong as they ever were. But Jackie is kind of unhinged, and it's like, well, where does Jackie fit in this show? Like, without Roseanne, Jackie's best material was always as Roseanne's sidekick. Roseanne was the straight man, Jackie was the loon. You can't have the loon without the straight man. What purpose does Jackie serve? She was in the house trying to clean up, trying to make sure everything was alright. And you see Darlene stepping in and trying to take Roseanne's spot. But you realize, like, you're never going to have those scenes with Jackie and Roseanne talking and Roseanne berating Jackie and all that. That's just gone. And then Dan was there, and, you know, Dan was being Dan, and is very, very much Dan, and you still feel him, you feel his pain, and you feel his hurt. And John Goodman is an amazing actor. But you realize, oh, damn, like, Dan and Roseanne, that was a relationship that was strong and healthy, and their love and their bond built the rest of the show. Everything came from that bond, and that bond not being there, can you still do it? And this was a good episode, and it addressed the death, and it was funny, and it was heartfelt. I'll be honest, Eight Simple Rules, I don't know how many of you have seen Eight Simple Rules, but when they addressed the death of John Ritter on that show, I think they did a better job than the Connors addressed the death of Roseanne. And I feel part of that might have been, you know, John Ritter literally died on set, and Roseanne's still very much alive, and she said something, they all got mad at her. But at the same time, you gotta think, like, this woman gave up everything for you guys. She gave up all her rights in the show, her rights to the characters, her, like, if it wasn't for her, this show wouldn't be going on. She owned a good part of all that, and she gave it up so that you guys could have a job. And I feel like they could have done a better job of acknowledging her at least. It's just, I don't... Roseanne, the show, always held a big part of my heart, and I'm glad that it's going on, but at the same time, I don't know if the Connors can capture the magic that Roseanne did. Because the matriarch, the centerpiece of that family, is gone. And how do you... That's like... It just... The magic's still there, but the magic's gone at the same time. And it's going to be interesting moving forward to see what the show does and if it can survive. I hope it does, but I'm not optimistic about it. Roseanne was too strong a figure in that show to just be washed away. And I think moving forward, Jackie's going to become diminished, have less and less to do, and I think Dan will too. I think as we move forward into the show, you can build the bond between the siblings. Because like I said, Darlene and Becky, they always had that strong connection. And DJ's always kind of done his own thing. And now they brought his wife back from the military, so hopefully she gets a bigger part. Although she said she was going to go back, so don't know how that's going to play out. But you could build a show on those three, and that's cool. But and then maybe that's what they'll do. But the trappings that was Roseanne is, you can already see it fading. Jackie is not unless something radical happens, I don't see Jackie playing as big a role in the Connors as she did on Roseanne. And the same goes for Dan. I mean, he's the grandfather, he lives in the house, so he'll be there. But I think that they're going to relegate him to kind of like what the Rockford Files guy did on A Simple Rules. He's going to be there, but he's not an essential character. They're not going to give Dan a whole lot to do, I don't think. I think he'll get less and less to do, and the stories will be less and less about him. And I guess that's fine moving into the next generation, but this isn't Degrassi. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens, and I don't know. I laughed. I was laughing, man. I was having a good time watching it, but you definitely feel something missing. And I just don't know if they can overcome that feeling. But, yeah, so I want to do a John's Corner today, and I wanted to talk about that stuff. Definitely check out, if you aren't watching The Flash and Legends, Flash and Black Lightning, what the hell's wrong with you? Go watch those shows. Definitely check out The Rookie. It's fun. I think it's going to be good. And definitely watch The Connors. And it was good. I actually really liked it. It was fun. It was the most fun I had. Like all the shows I watched, I'm real invested in them. But The Connors was the one that I was like, oh, I was in it. But it's just, Roseanne meant so much to me, and it's just like, you feel something missing. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm not saying that it was horrible. But you definitely feel a void while watching that show. And maybe that was intentional too, because it was the episode dealing with the death, and when you're dealing with that, there's that void. That is a part of what dealing with death is dealing with that void. So maybe that was intentional. And maybe moving forward into future episodes, it goes away and it starts to feel more like normal, because the writing was on par. The writing was just as good. Everyone else was the same. No one else missed the beat. It was just that central figure was gone, and you're like, well, how do all these pieces connect? It's like doing a puzzle and the middle of it's missing, and it's like, well, do you still have a puzzle? And it's like, well, the rest of it's still really good, but can it hold without that center? And maybe that's a plot line to explore. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping for the best though, and I did enjoy the series premiere of The Connors. And let's let's hope it keeps getting better. But I'm Jonathan. This has been John's Corner. Give us legends.